couchtripper.
Welcome to the Paul and Pauline Calf audio experience, which stars myself and Pauline.
And Fat Bob.
Yeah, and Fat Bob occasionally. Hello, my name's Paul Calf. Sorry about that. My name is Paul Calf. I'm here to tell you about this new talking book featuring my sister Pauline and myself. This is, of course, my first venture into the world of audio decoding, and all we want to do is bring a little sparkle to Christmas and put a smile on people's faces, and not wanting to be vulgar, we're hoping to shift these by the skipload. Think of Michael Jackson with a tash, a can of lager and a fag in his hand. That's me. Without the monkey in my backyard, obviously.
And now it's time for extracts from the diary of Pauline Calf, read by the inimitable Pauline Calf.
I was sitting in my boudoir leafing through all my worldly possessions and eating chips, and I stumbled across a handsome memento of my former past. It was big and black and covered in leather and buzzing with excitement. And I also found my diary. Do you know, I used to get it out every night just before I went to sleep. And after that, I'd finish writing my diary. So here, unabridged, is the edited version of Pauline Calf's Intimate Diary, 1982. June the 12th, 1982. Found a dead rabbit by the roadside. All its giblets were hanging out. I got home, and after animal magic, I cried. Paul said I should have broke its neck to make sure it were dead. Apparently that's what they do in the army. Anyway, he said they were a pest. Bob was nice to me. He said there were no chance of them becoming extinct as they breed like rabbits. He then suggested I should have brought it home and cooked it in a pie. He says they're a delicacy in France. Paul said the Emperor Hirohito used to eat them live for breakfast. I think he's probably making it up. Tuesday the 13th. Today, Louise Cooper said that she thought I were doing myself no favours by cheeking the teachers and that the rest of the class were being held back. I caught up with her at the school gates and smacked her face in. Wednesday the 14th. We had double history today with Miss Borshaw. She's got a moustache and smells like burnt sprouts. She never does anything with her hair. Julie reckons she's a lesbian. We're doing Weimar, Germany at the moment. They had wheelbarrows full of money and people would steal the wheelbarrows and leave the money. Imagine that. A packet of fags could cost about £500. I'd hate to have lived there and having to talk German all the time. And with my Saturday job, I couldn't afford to buy anything. Miss Borshaw offered to give me a lift home in a car. No way, I know what she's after. Thursday. Louise Cooper came up to me today and said she was sorry. I showed her how to cover up a black eye with some of my foundation. She's offered to do me homework next week. Julie says Miss Borshaw has lesbian orgies all the time at her house. Teresa McBreen says Miss Borshaw has them there every Wednesday night and that she'd seen loads of women with short hair going round there and not leaving till after midnight. Paul said it were all vicious rumours and that you shouldn't make allegations unless somebody had seen it for themselves. He then immediately volunteered to see it for himself. He said it was the only honourable thing to do. Friday, got off games and went down the Arndale Centre. We had a right laugh. Sunday the 18th, Paul kept going on and on about the unspeakable lesbian orgy he'd seen through Miss Borshaw's living room window. Paul says she was like an animal. He said they seemed to be possessed by the devil. They danced around naked before performing what he described as a lesbian voodoo sex ritual. I bumped into Fat Bob on the way home. His account was very different. He said 8 women arrived and sat in a circle on chairs and chatted for about 3 hours. He said at one point Miss Borshaw went out of the room and returned 5 minutes later with a tray of biscuits, at which point Paul just got up and went home. Monday, June the 19th. Just come back from seeing Duran Duran in concert. Simon Le Bon is fantastic. I love the way he pushes the sleeves up on his jacket and struts his stuff. He wears a bandana and white toweling socks, probably because he sweats so much on stage. He took off his T-shirt and flung it into the crowd. I had to smack about 3 girls to get hold of it. In the end, I just got the sleeve. It's got some blood in it, but I don't think it's his. Teresa McBreen likes Roger Taylor, the drummer. She can have him. He's all right, but all he does is sit there drumming. The best is John Taylor, the bass player. You can tell he's dead sensitive and shy, because he just sways from side to side and occasionally just looks up all sheepish. At one point he looked up and gave a cheeky smile, and I swear to God he was looking at me. I think he must be telepathic. It was exactly at the moment I was imagining showing me tits to him. I sometimes dream about him. I wonder if he has dreams about me. On the way home I stopped off at the Chippy. I was hungry like the wolf. Thursday the 22nd of June. Julie says she fancies our Paul. So when he was out, I took her into his bedroom and showed her his underpants drawer. There were none in there. She said, "Where are they?" I said he's only got one pair and he's wearing them. Friday, June the 23rd. Dad might have to have his lung removed. He's cursing and can't believe his bad luck. He's just bought 200 duty-free Rothmans, but Paul has put them out of his reach. Paul said he refused to stand by and watch his father kill himself, then offered to take the whole lot off his hands for £2. Julie still fancies our Paul. She said she used to fancy Patrick MacDonald, but she saw Paul batter him and now she's got a thing for Paul. He's enjoying himself at the moment. He's cock of the estate, but only until next week, when my knight in shining armour, Barry Parry, comes out of Risley Remand. Monday the 26th. We've got a new geography teacher today, Mr. Tierney. He's gorgeous. He's got hair like David Essex. He wears a leather jacket and likes Genesis. I put on some makeup in the bogs at dinner time. We had him for last lesson, so I asked if I could talk to him after class. I walked right up to him, threw my arms round him and burst into tears. I said I didn't understand about sedimentary deposits. Nothing happened, but he was sweating. I could smell it. Tuesday, June the 27th. Saw Mr. Tierney again today. He won't look me in the eye. Dirty bastard. I know what he's after. He'll get it and all. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. Mr. Tierney certainly did. I can't read any more because it gets too private, but let's just say that from that day to this, I've never missed a nightly entry.
Paul Calf's
And Bob's.
Fat Bob's
Yeah.
handy guide. Am I pissed? Keep this list handy.
At all times.
Am I snogging someone who I don't know the name of?
Am I drinking Thunderbird from a plastic cup?
Can I hear someone banging on the door saying, "Come on, there's a queue out here"?
Am I talking very loudly 2 inches from someone's face?
Am I asleep on a bus at the terminus?
Am I brandishing a broken bottle and shouting at a bunch of squaddies, "Come on, you bunch of pansies"?
Am I pissing in my pants?
Am I leaning against the wall with one hand whilst being sick through my mouth and nose on the edge of a housing estate?
Am I talking enthusiastically with 4 strangers about setting up a business first thing tomorrow morning?
Am I using this list to wipe my bottom?
You know, people often stop me in the street and ask, "Pauline, you always seem to have a happy, breezy smile on your face, even after a heavy night on the piss. How do you achieve this?" The answer is simple. Lots of makeup. It will come as a surprise to a lot of people that even I can look rough as a bear's arse without lots of makeup. Let's take this typical example. Before... Oh, Patricia, you won't get into Don Juan's roller disco looking like that, love. But after... Well done, Tish. Now you'll be beating them off with a shitty stick. Thanks to lots of makeup. Lots of makeup for girls who can pull it off.
Welcome to Are You a Paul Calf? Answer A, B or C, or get someone else to do it if you can't be arsed. 1. You're sitting in a genito-urinary clinic, chatting with the regulars and browsing through a guide to what's on locally in the world of arts and entertainment when you come across a full-page advert for a forthcoming season of films by Polish cinematographer Krzysztof Kieślowski. Do you A, find it hard to contain yourself and enthusiastically describe the directorial subtleties of the Three Colours trilogy to the man sitting next to you, insisting that he familiarise himself with Kieślowski's work? B, turn the page. Or C, hold it up to the person next to you and say, "Is there much shagging in his stuff?" 2. You're sitting at a crowded bar when a student nudges you, spilling your drink. Do you A, ignore him, B, move away, giving him space to get through whilst making some friendly comment like, "You all right there, mate?" Or do you C, stare him out for the next hour, and when he goes to the toilet, follow him, piss on his shoes, then offer him an olive branch by letting him buy you a pint? 3. It's the end of a romantic evening at the dog track. You've been getting on very well. Naturally, you invite your lady friend back for a shag. She politely declines, saying, "Not on the first date," but says she would like to see you again. Do you A, feel bad about having asked her back? She's better than that and deserves more respect. B, hit the roof and claim you spent £6.50 on her ticket and that you don't get something for nothing? Ask her who does she think she is, Princess Di? Or do you C, say you understand perfectly and that you look forward to seeing her later in the week, then, after dropping her off home, go and get pissed and pick a fight, after which you check round the back of the dog's head to see if Big Bertha's there? 4. You wake up and realise you have half an hour before you need to leave the house for a job interview. Do you A. Start running round like a blue-arse fly, tarting yourself up all poncified and combing your hair like a girl. Or B. Get up at the last minute, scratch your arse, pull on some tight stone-washed jeans, turn up late at the interview and punch your prospective employer. Or do you C. Have a wank and go back to sleep for another 3 hours? 5. You're sick in the back of a taxi. Do you A. Apologise profusely, say that this has never happened before and offer to pay to have the seat cleaned professionally? B. Hope the driver hasn't noticed and try to disguise your indiscretion by staring out the window and humming a happy tune? Or C. Get rid of the remaining sick on your hand by wiping it on the seat, then as you catch eye of the driver in the rear-view mirror say, "What the fuck are you looking at?" 6. You wake up to find yourself on a multi-storey car park stairwell. You smell of piss. One of your shoes has been thrown onto the roof of an adjacent building and is irretrievable. Your nose is bloody and you have cuts and bruises. Do you A. Go to the nearest door and ask them to call the police, explaining that you are upset and bewildered? B. Sit with your head in your hands weeping, "How did I get into this terrible state? Where have I gone wrong with my life?" Or C. Walk home, have a bowl of sugar puffs made with water and go to bed. 7. You're driving along a dual carriageway when you're flashed by a speed camera. Do you A. Hit the steering wheel, cursing your idiocy and the inevitability of the arrival of 3 fixed penalty points through the post, ultimately accepting that you were caught fair and square? B. Think of various scams to avoid being penalised, e.g. claiming the car was stolen or that a friend was driving the car, perhaps Fat Bob? Or C. Drive home and return an hour later with bolt cutters and an oxyacetylene blow lamp, remove the speed camera and put it in the back of your car before eventually dumping it in a reservoir near Stockport. Let's check the score.
21.
Congratulations, you are Paul Calf. Excuse me.
14 to 20.
Keep trying, you do have calf-esque tendencies.
Under 14.
Commiserations, you're basically a normal person or possibly a southern ponce.
I slept with my lover's dad and his granddad.
It happened to me. A true story by Pauline Calf.
Yes, I slept with my lover's dad and his granddad. Now all 3 are dead and I am deaf in one ear. I met Carl when he was working as a pizza delivery boy. He came round one day with a meat feast. He seemed shy and vulnerable. As the weeks progressed, I found myself going through the entire menu of speciality pizzas. Then one day he came round with a Mexican hot, which he gave me free as it was a cancelled order. I was ravenous. Afterwards, he offered himself for dessert. He parked his scooter and came inside. After that, it was deep pan every night. It was like a fairy tale romance. We went to the pictures, 10-pin bowling and the swimming baths, and with his contacts, food was never a problem. Somehow I knew it was too good to be true and that it couldn't last forever. One day during the long hot summer, I called in at Pablo's Pizzas. A stranger answered the door. He was tall and Mediterranean looking, and when our eyes met, the atmosphere was electric. You could cut it with a knife. "Hi," he said as he stretched out his firm, masculine hand. "I'm Pablo." He showed me round the kitchen with a powerful air of confidence. He knew where everything went. I was spellbound as he masterfully grated mozzarella into a cheese supreme. He let me toss his dough balls. That afternoon we made love everywhere. On the chopping table, up against the ovens, in his van. Later on, as we hosed each other down, I said, "You're like a much more mature version of Carl." He mumbled something about "it runs in the family." "What do you mean?" I said. "Didn't you know?" he replied. "Carl is my son." I was gobsmacked. Later that evening, I met Carl at Froggy's Fun Pub. He wanted to go and see Passenger 57 starring Wesley Snipes, whereas I wanted to see 3 Men and a Little Lady again. It turned into a blazing row. Eventually we decided to go back to my place, but as we kissed and made up, and he ran his fingers through my hair, he found a piece of uncooked ground beef. "What's this?" he said. I don't know. It must be from that pizza we had earlier," I spluttered. "But that was a Hawaiian," he replied. "They only come with ham, pineapple and mushrooms. And besides, this ground beef is uncooked. The only place you can find this is at the kitchen of my father's pizza parlour." A tear trickled down his face as he looked into my soul. He knew the truth. I could not lie. "I'm so sorry," I replied. "I couldn't stop myself." He went very quiet. He seemed to be in a trance as he stood, turned and walked from the pub like a man possessed. It was about midnight when I heard the knock on the door. That knock still echoes in my head like a bell. It was the police. Apparently Carl had beaten his father to death with a pastry mallet and then taken his own life by driving a scooter into the path of an Intercity 125 near Stockport Viaduct. After the impact, the only thing that could be identified was his crash helmet, which bore the logo, Pablo and Son. His head was still inside the helmet. Clenched between his teeth was a note which read, "I'm so sorry, I couldn't help myself." The police said his remains looked like uncooked ground beef. It chilled me to the bone. At the family funeral, the church was packed with customers and suppliers. Pablo's father had flown all the way from Palermo in Sicily. He was 85 years old and tanned with silver hair like a punch-drunk Blake Carrington. We both needed a shoulder to cry on, and inevitably that evening we both ended up in bed together in his room at the Novotel. At 3 o'clock in the morning the grief was too much for him and he had a heart attack. Many believe I came out of the whole tragedy unscathed. No one will ever know the emotional and mental scars I carry, not to mention being partially deaf due to an ear infection I caught due to the stress of the whole palaver. I know I will never again order pizza. But if I do, it will be a veggie mix, a seafood or a calypso, as none of these have ground beef.
Welcome to the Bag of Shite Top 20. At number 20, Nick Berry in Heartbeat. 19, EastEnders, when Nick Berry was in it. And 18, the chart-topping hit Every Loser Wins, performed by our favourite twat, Nick Berry. 17, Scandinavian cartoon seasons on Channel 4. 16, Bob Hoskins doing BT adverts. At 15, there's really no need, goatee beards. At 14, posh blokes who make out they're not posh. And at 13, cut one up if you can, hairdressers in jeeps. At number 12, Cuban hats. And at number 11, Camden fucking Market. Which brings us to the Bag of Shite Top 10. At 10, posh birds with studs in their noses. Number 9, Shandy. At number 8, it's not getting any better, Ballykiss Angel. At number 7, snowboarding. Number 6, who watches them? Costume dramas. Number 5, National Express coaches. At number 4, for the 10th year running, programmes on Channel 4 where they shake the camera around a lot. 3, male models. At number 2, that bald twat who used to do the Crystal Maze. And at number 1, you've met 'em, I've hit 'em, we all hate 'em, people who hang rugs and musical instruments on the wall.
And now, in the psychiatrist's bed. Pauline Calf, welcome.
Hiya.
Now, Pauline, I understand you had a number of what you might call short-term relationships with well-known people.
Celebrity sexploits, yeah.
Yes, and I wonder if I might ask you about some of them.
You may.
For instance, I believe you once had Ken Russell.
Yes, I did. On a farm. He was a very sick man. Quite kinky.
And what about Jonathan Ross?
Yes, I had Jonathan in Cecil G's. He said he was just trying it on. A snug fit it was. Yes, he gave me an orgasm.
And Richard Whiteley?
Yes, at the Travel Lodge, in Chepstow. He said, I'll have 2 from the top and 1 from the bottom.
Yes. John McVicar?
Yes, John I had in Soho. Not as hard as he looks. Not as hard as he looks. A full shag, though.
Right, and I understand you had David Dimbleby.
And Jonathan.
Yes, the 2 Dimbleby brothers. But you had David in the BBC canteen. What was he like?
Well, he was the embodiment of professional broadcasting. A tip man.
And Jonathan?
Like 2 peas in a pod. And his brother were no different.
Richard Madeley?
I had Richard Madeley. at the Copthorne Hotel, Birmingham. Smooth as an eel, but very big feet. And very soon after that I had Sean Bean. That was at his flat. He wore a Sheffield Wednesday kit, but still managed to score.
Which brings us neatly on to David Mellor.
That's right, I had David at the Thistle Hotel, Brighton. Lost his deposit. Kinky.
Now, I understand you also had Rory Bremner at the Edinburgh Festival.
That's right, yes. He kept doing impressions of Frank Bruno, but he made love like Frank Spencer. Oh, Betty, I've come. Full shag, yes. Full shag.
And Barry Norman, that was
also in the BBC canteen, yes. He just wanted to watch.
Have you ever had what is colloquially termed girl-on-girl action?
Yes, I have had a lesbian liaison with Paulie Yates in the toilets at BHS. Disproves the myth you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Very, very kinky, yes.
Michael Winner?
The Kitchen at the Caprice. Michael Loser.
And now, Metro Goldwyn Calf Productions proudly presents to you a bag of useful chat-up lines.
Subtle and sophisticated, we guarantee you a blow-off every time or your money back. So sit back and allow me and my friend, Fat Robert, to whirl you away to an island of romance.
Is it you or your sister I've shagged?
Is your husband still on nights?
You're very grown up for 16.
Didn't I see you down the genital urinary clinic?
I don't believe you work in Frankfurt. I thought you were a model.
What the fuck are you looking at?
My mum's gone to Rill for the week.
With your looks and my brains, we'd make beautiful babies. If it's the other way around, we're knackered.
We can sleep in the same bed, but nothing will happen, honest. I'll sort myself out.
Come on, love, you're out special.
Tony won't mind. He's a good mate of mine.
Hey, did you used to be a dinner lady at St Cuthbert's about 20 years ago?
Can you settle an argument? You're not a man in drag, are you?
Look, I'm not messing about. If you want a shag, I'll be in the cubicle. Leave it about 20 minutes, I'm having a dump.
Do you want a shag?
Does anybody want a shag?
Poor Old Uncle Paul. A story for children by Pauline Calf.
One day, Paul got out of bed. He was very sad. He couldn't find his fags.
Where are my fags?
Said Uncle Paul.
I'm dying for a bleeding fag. I know where they are,
Said Paul.
They're under the cushion.
But under the cushion, there was just a piece of toast.
They're not here.
I know where they are, said Grandma. They're on top of the telly. But on top of the telly, there was just a video.
It's me Under Siege video with Steven Seagal.
I know where they are.
Said Fat Bob, who was eating toast.
They're in your jacket pocket.
But in Paul's jacket pocket, there was just a chip fork.
Where are they?
I know where they are, said Mummy. They're next to the phone, you dopey git. But next to the phone was just a pile of empty cans. I know where they are, said lovely little Petula.
Oh, fucking hell.
Don't you remember? You smoked them all last night when you were on the phone to Julie, crying,
Shut it, you cheeky little cow.
said Uncle Paul. Suddenly he gave a big smile and said,
It don't matter. I can make a fag from all these dimps.
Then Uncle Paul went back to bed.
Hey, result.
Good night, Uncle Paul. Good night.
Paul Calf audio recordings in conjunction with Fat Bob's answer phone message cassette proudly brings you
Paul Calf's fantastic
Facts.
If you dropped a 10-pence piece off the top of the Eiffel Tower, it would be travelling at twice the speed of sound by the time it reached the pavement below. If it hit a man on the head, the force would be enough to slice him in two like a cheese wire, without him having heard a sound.
Fantastic!
If a roaring lion comes running towards you in the jungle, you must never run away. You must stand your ground and stare it out. As the lion approaches, Reach out with the knuckle of your middle finger and press firmly between its eyes. Amazingly, the lion will simply lie down and die.
Fantastic.
Albino people are from outer space, but there has been a government conspiracy to cover it up because they are quite friendly and pose no threat. It's worth noting that an albino has never been elected President of the United States.
Fantastic.
Cola is well known as a cleaning agent. What people don't know is that if you place a metal knife inside a bottle of cola for 2 weeks, it will completely dissolve. This had a catastrophic effect when a consignment of cola burst in the hull of a transatlantic liner, sinking the ship at the cost of over 1,500 lives. There was a complete cover-up by the cola people who were worried it would affect their worldwide image and make a mockery of their slogan, "Cola is life." Instead, they blamed an iceberg for the sinking of the ship they called the Titanic.
Fantastic.
There is no such thing as the Welsh language. They make it up as they go along to annoy English people.
Fantastic.
During World War II, a Japanese pilot crashed in the Himalayas. He survived alone for 4 months. When they found him by the wreckage, he was still alive, but he'd lost both his legs. When asked how he'd managed to find food all this time, he simply pointed to where his limbs had been and screamed, "I ate my legs!"
Fantastic.
Cockroaches will survive a nuclear holocaust because they are dinosaurs and have been around since the beginning of time. Their shells are impenetrable, and apart from standing on them, they can only be killed by Amazonian blow darts when they are in flight and their backs are exposed.
Fantastic.
The first motor car was invented by the ancient Egyptians. If you decipher the hieroglyphics from inside of Tutankhamun's tomb, you come up with the exact specification for a Hillman Hunter.
Fantastic.
W.G. Grace was a woman. The MCC knew all about it, but kept quiet so long as the runs kept coming.
Fantastic.
Soil is dead skin. It has accumulated over millions of years from the bodies of dead people who have died in their sleep.
Fantastic.
And then, of course, there was the carrot-topped shag with Chris Evans.
That's right, that was at the Groucho Club. Evans above and below. Not really good.
What about the elder members of the sexual establishment?
Charlie Drake at the Davenport Theatre, Stockport. Oh, he knocked me out. Then he had sex with me.
And any real low points?
Yes, Jim Davidson, HMS Belfast, Brewer's Droop, a disaster. The Crankies, Butlin Skegness, Rubber Bed Sheets, very, very weird. Paul Daniels, The London Savoy. I liked it. Not a lot, but I liked it. He only got tops, though. Billy Bragg, Tent at Glastonbury, kept saying, "You love it, you slag." There's a surprise.
Returning briefly to Carrot Tops, Mick Hucknall?
Yes, at the GMEX, Simply Dead.
Right.
And while we're on singers, I also had Christa Berg, The Toilet at Heathrow Departures. I made him sing, unfortunately. Ian McShane, on the Norfolk Broads, yeah. Enjoyed sitting on his barge.
I understand you also made love to the man who perhaps has the worst haircut in Britain.
Peter Stringfellow, yes. That was at Stringfellow's, and, I mean, who'd have thought it, eh? 55 this year. 56, if you include me. Michael Fish, again BBC Canteen, fillet of fish with a tartar sauce.
In modern urban 20th century society, or Manchester, it's important that you learn a bit about self-defence. Not too much, of course, in case we meet and I want to give you a bit of a slap. But just enough, say, to deck the odd sociology student. They don't even have to be sociology students. They could be doing a combined studies degree, or even just a summer course with the Open University. Keep your options open. They don't even have to be students. You know, there could be people who ride bicycles with baskets on the front, or people with goatee beards. And if it's a student with a goatee beard riding a bike, wade in. Give him a slap. Enjoy yourself. Well, with that in mind, here is Paul Calf's Guide to Self-Defence. Number 1. Potentially inflammatory situations. 1. Having a quiet drink in a pub just outside Old Trafford whilst wearing your Man City scarf and whilst politely pointing out to a group of Manchester United supporters that their team would be a bunch of hairdressers if it wasn't for that garlic-chomping frog Cantona, wearing his collar up like that other twat, Shakin' Stevens. You'd be surprised at the aggressive and unwarranted behaviour that a little valid criticism such as this can provoke. In this situation, do make sure you're standing near the exit. Do have a friend outside with the engine running, e.g. Fat Bob. Do attempt to redirect their anger by mentioning Arsenal, and in particular Ian Wright. Don't go to the toilet. Don't say, I've had your sister and your mum and they were both crap. And don't bare your arse and say, let's kiss and make up. And number 2, student antisocial acts. These include nudging you and spilling your drink, talking funny, brackets peculiar, looking at you in that way, being there, trying to be your mate, and apologising in a pathetic way and saying, we don't want any trouble, we just came here for a quiet drink. How many times must I hear this? Number 3, is self-defence necessary? Well, if you were to ask me such a stupid question in public, you'd see just how necessary it is. You might as well say, I'm soft, have a pop, it's on the house. Number 4, some frequently asked questions answered. Is the pen mightier than the sword? Yes, it's small and fits into an inside pocket and does not constitute an offensive weapon, as in the statement, it's a pen, officer. I'm going to sign on and I don't want to waste the ink in the pens at the DSS. God knows the government has enough to contend with. Swords cannot be explained away so easily. I'm on my way to the GPO sorting office. They're holding a large parcel for me and I'm not sure how thick the string is. Is attack the best form of defence? Don't wait around to find out. The SAS have got this off to a T. Attack is the best form of defence and it's also the best form of attack. During the Iranian embassy siege, they didn't mince around talking about fashion and pop music like a bunch of students. No, they got in there, did the job, and were home shit, shower and shave in time to enjoy a TV dinner in front of the big match like the rest of us. Are there two sides to every argument? Yes. And no. I prefer to stick with no, it's easier. Besides which, in the time it's taken you to process this thought, your opponent will have ample opportunity to strike the first blow, or worse still, defuse the situation by confusing you with la-di-da questions. Twat him. If you remember nothing else, remember the central tenet of fight and flight. One punch and run. Oh, and a useful tip. Weigh up your opponent. Does he wear glasses? Does he have an impediment that will give you the edge in a combat situation? Number 5. A sample technique. The dummy. Disengage at a convenient lull in the fracas and court reconciliation. Say, sorry mate, I was out of order. The sauce has got the better of me. If you could possibly find it in your heart to forgive me, I'll cheerfully buy you and the rest of the drama department a drink of their choice. At this point, reach your hand out and say, put it there, mate. As soon as he does, grip firmly, pulling him towards you in one swift movement, at the same time lowering your head slightly. The bridge of his nose should hit your forehead. This requires precision. Remember, practice. Well, that completes the first module, and I hope that's given you some idea of the rudiments of self-defence. And remember, if you do bump into me in the street and you're not very confident, apologise immediately. You don't want to end up with a broken nose. Goodbye.
Hello, and welcome to Are You a Pauline? Use your skill and judgment and a pink glitter pen from John Menzies to say whether you'd answer A, B, or C. Number 1. You've just seen the film The Piano, and in the heated post-film discussion, you're asked to comment on the performance of Harvey Keitel. Do you say A,
For me, Keitel will always be quintessentially linked with Scorsese.
B,
Keitel displayed a profound sensitivity unseen in his previous work.
or C?
He's a bit tubby, but he's got a nice arse.
2. You've just bought yourself a brand new Ford Fiesta Finesse, and your friend asks you what you like about the car. Do you respond A,
The overall fuel economy linked to its day-to-day running costs and practicality.
B,
The responsive performance and predictable front-wheel drive handling.
or C?
It's turquoise.
Number 3. A man in a dirty Mac flashes you in the park. Do you A,
Burst into tears and run off screaming for help.
B,
Assert yourself by confronting the perpetrator and stating that you refuse to be intimidated by a sick and inadequate display of remedial sexuality.
or C?
Kick him in the balls and keep kicking him until he bursts into tears and runs off screaming for help.
Number 4. You're stopped by a policeman for speeding. Do you A,
Accept the solemn rebuke and pay an on-the-spot fine.
B,
Argue your case by pointing out the number of other drivers passing at the same speed.
or C?
Shove his face in your cleavage and your hand in his pants and hold on tight until his protestations turn from cries of "Oh no, not again" to "For God's sake, hurry up" and "I'll let you off with a caution."
5. You're at a nightclub and are accused of trying to cop off with Tina Beasley's fiancé, Carl, from Do It All. Do you say, I'm not interested because A,
I'm already in a trusting and fulfilling relationship.
B,
Although Carl is a powerful and handsome man, I realise that no one could love him the way you do, and all I want is for you two to have a long and happy marriage together.
or C?
I've had him.
Number 6. You're at the Debenhams January sale. An item catches your eye, but as you grasp one end of the garment, you realise another woman has already got hold of the other end. Do you A,
Release your grip and apologise immediately before smiling and wishing her a happy new year.
B,
Throw yourself on her mercy, explaining it's something you've set your heart on since you first saw it in the shop last September.
or C?
Pull the garment until it tears in two while saying, "It wouldn't fit you anyway, you fat cow."
Number 7. You're at Stringfellow's nightclub, standing innocently at the bar when you're approached by a fat, ugly, middle-aged man wearing a gold Rolex watch who smiles and offers to buy you a drink. Do you A,
Decline politely and explain that you're waiting for your friend.
B,
Accept his offer with an open mind. Try not to judge him by his appearance. Avoid the clichés. Raise yourselves above the vulgar throng and just talk honestly to one another.
or C?
Get him to keep you and your friends in taboo and black all night long whilst giggling like a little schoolgirl, flirting outrageously by mussing his hair and calling him your little teddy bear. Bid him good night with a peck on the cheek and ask to see him again. Over the next few weeks he takes you to the swankiest restaurants in town. You dangle the promise without ever quite delivering sexual gratification. Eventually, when he goes down on his knees saying he can't control his libido any longer, you burst into tears saying you need solid proof of his love before you can let him take your virginity. Wait until he has spent at least $1,000 on jewellery before telling him you don't think you're right for each other and dumping him like a ton of hot bricks. Pawn half the jewellery and book a holiday for you and your mates with Club Med.
Right, let's check your scores. Basically, if you've scored, then you are a Pauline.
You know that dead posh bloke who's just been talking? I've had him.
And now, a book at bedtime. Based on a true-life account of his experience in prison, Paul Calf reads from his new novel, Hard Man. Chapter 1. Banged Up.
Take him down.
When the judge passed sentence, I said nothing. I stared him out. He bottled it and looked down at his notes. It was a victory of sorts. I wondered who looked more tragic, me in a Burton suit handcuffed to a prison officer, or his lordship wearing a long black dress and a wig like a girl. I think he knew. I smirked and swaggered as I was led away. I could almost hear the public gallery. There goes Calf, cool as a cucumber. Down, but not out. In the slammer, no one asked what your crime was. We were all criminals. Who cared whether you had murdered men, whether you had come a cropper in an armed robbery, whether you had masterminded gangland extortion, or whether you'd been charged with non-payment of a fine for non-payment of a TV licence? We were all in it together, doing bird, doing porridge, doing a stretch, serving a prison sentence, call it what you will. The language came easy to me. I was steeped in the folklore. Then there were the screws. They were prisoners just the same as us, except they went home in the evenings. Occasionally there'd be a beating, but no one laid a finger on you if you were a personal friend of Mr. Big, like I was. I became obsessed with escape. I stole a dessert spoon from the canteen and started to scrape away the plaster from the wall of my cell. I was careful to cover up the evidence of my progress with a topless picture of Linda Lusardi. God, how she helped me through those nights. Thank you, Linda. You are all women. Except my mum and my sister, of course. I worked out that by scraping for 4 hours a night, within 6 years I could dig a tunnel to freedom. At times it all seemed so futile. My release date was 5 weeks away, and I'd only been there just over a fortnight. Already I'd become institutionalised, brutalised by an uncaring system. When I left, I'd leave with a scar. I'd be a different man. A hard man. Jimmy Boyle, John McVicker, The Craze, Mad Frankie Fraser, Pee Wee Herman, Paul Calf. Just names to some people, but this is their story, as well as mine. What lay outside for a marked man? Unemployment, rejection, oblivion. I'd probably end up like the rest of them. A publishing deal, a guest spot on Pebble Mill, part of a penal reform pressure group on Kilroy, and perhaps a guest columnist in The Observer. Worse still, a one-man show at the Edinburgh Festival.
Chapter 5. Betrayal.
I saw the governor only once. He looked like Charlton Heston, but fatter with the voice of Larry Grayson. He was not a man to be crossed. He told me there were 2 ways of doing time, the easy way or the hard way. I told him I preferred the easy way, but I was bluffing. I can't remember whose suggestion it was, but there was a deal laid out that involved one of us grassing. In the end, I let him believe I was going along with him, and the truth is I was going along with him, but only I knew that for sure. I had the upper hand.
Paul Calf was reading from his new novel, Hard Man, which is published by Hodder and Stoughton on beer-proof paper.
Hello. Are you lonely? Depressed? Haven't had any in weeks? Or are you just ugly as a bag of spanners? Fret not, for you're listening to Auntie Pauline's very own Problem Corner. The first letter's from Siobhan in Cheetham Hill, and she writes, Dear Auntie Pauline, my boyfriend David is a 6'2" fireman who looks a bit like Antonio Banderas. He says he loves me more than anything in the world. We've been going together for some time. The thing is, he wants to have sex, but I'm not sure as I'm still a virgin. What should I do, Siobhan? Well, Siobhan, I'd say have a full structural survey by an experienced professional done before you invest in his property. I provide such a service at very competitive rates. In this instance, it would be on the house. Right, the next one's from Janine, lovely name, from Stoke. She says, Dear Auntie Pauline, I've been best friends with Elaine now for 6 years. Recently, I started going out with a new boyfriend called Todd. Now, Elaine turns up unannounced at my house, but only when Todd is there. When I leave the room, I can hear them giggling together, and when I return, they look sheepish and guilty. I fear I'm going to lose both the man I love and my best friend, Janine. Well, Janine, I would find a quiet moment with Elaine, sit her down, take both her hands in yours, and tell her that boyfriends come and go, but that real friendship lasts forever, and say that you understand her attraction to Todd, but that she must understand that Todd is your boyfriend, and that if she ever so much as looks at him again, she'll be controlling a wheelchair through a straw. Now we have Brenda from London, East 17, not the band, the area. She writes to say, Dear Auntie Pauline, I've got thrush, what should I do? Dear Brenda, use Caniston. Next up is Sophie Carter from Peterborough. Dear Auntie Pauline, I work next to a building site. When I choose to wear something that is slightly revealing, the workmen wolf whistle, make rude gestures and shout things like, show us your tits. When I get to the office, my colleagues, who are predominantly male, make suggestive remarks and constant sexual innuendos throughout the day. Some even slap and pinch my bottom as I walk past. When I talk to my boss, he simply stares at my chest and makes panting noises like a dog. What can I do? Sophie. Well, Sophie Carter from Peterborough, I don't quite understand what your problem is. This is a programme for people with problems, and it really doesn't help matters when people like you write these insensitive letters which appear to be nothing more than an excuse for bragging. Now, Sabrina, doesn't say where she's from, writes in and says, Dear Auntie Pauline, every time I eat, I want to have sex. What can I do? Well, Sabrina, tuck in. Here's one from Cleo Dawson in Matlock. Dear Auntie Pauline, I've recently been seeing a guy called Martin who I met in a local pub 3 weeks ago. We've been out on a couple of dates and I was really getting to like him until the other night I met his brother Spike, who was working backstage at a David Copperfield concert. When our eyes met, it really was like magic. Now I'm so confused I can't choose between Martin or Spike. I don't know what to do. Well, Cleo, I understand exactly what you must be going through. I had a very similar experience a few years ago with two brothers who owned a minicab. One used to drive days, the other would drive nights. The important thing is to keep a cool head and to make a clear decision. I made a very clear decision in the end to shag them both. Next is Rosemary Cliff from Dundee. Oh, Dundee! And she says... I won't do the accent. Dear Auntie Pauline, I love my boyfriend very much, and we have a deep and fulfilling relationship in many ways. However, when we sleep together, he finds it very difficult to become aroused due to a deep-rooted psychological fear of rejection. What should I do, Rosemary? Well, Rosemary, dump him. And finally, one from Uma. It says, Dear Auntie Pauline, I'm very concerned about my sexuality. I've recently found myself attracted to women. I think I may have bisexual or lesbian tendencies. As my newfound yearning builds with each passing day, I feel the act of lesbian congress is inevitable. As this is uncharted territory, I have great feelings of trepidation. I know that it would greatly ease my anxiety if you were to describe in graphic detail a typical lesbian sexual encounter. Proper girl-on-girl action, you know, 69ers and stuff, the full Monty. Yours sincerely, Uma Pfeiffer, North Manchester. Well, Paul, if you want to stimulate yourself sexually with pseudo-lesbian erotica, there are plenty of opportunities. Simply look in any of the pornographic magazines that you keep hid behind the hot water tank.
Another Paul Carp handy guide.
Things you shouldn't say to your girlfriend's father.
You'd think butter wouldn't melt in her mouth, wouldn't you?
Jobs are for mugs.
Chuck us the remote, will you?
Have you got any condoms?
You do know your bedroom stinks, don't you?
Do you fancy a foursome?
I'm sorry, mate. What's your daughter's name again?
What do you know about genital warts?
I'll say this about your daughter. What she lacks in looks, she more than makes up for in stamina.
Give us 500 quid and I won't come back.
Chris Eubank, the Royal Pavilion, Brighton Pier. Nutter. His monocle fell out and all. While we're on the subject, Prince Nazim, Stretch Limo, Bradford, 1 on points.
Right, and what about, Joe Bugner?
Yes, that was at the back of the Blue Marlin Fish Restaurant, and it was stopped due to a cut above his left eye. Will Carling, Swallow Hotel, Bristol. Nice tackle. I had a fumble with the Marquis of Blandford, and that was at a party at Barry Gibbs' house. And all I could say about him, really, is the Marquis de Sade.
That was quite a party, wasn't it?
That's right. I also had Steve Davis at the party at Barry Gibbs' house. Up against the cushion.
Who, Pauline, do you think is the worst shag you've ever had?
I think that's possibly John McCririck. That was at the stables at Chepstow. That was terrible. I mean, I was just put off by the smell.
Ladies and gentlemen, Paul Carve's top 10 girlfriends
That I'd like to have.
that he'd like to have. Number 1, Sam Fox.
Yea, God did bless her, and she did bless us a-plenty.
Number 2, Julie.
She is a goddess in my eyes, but the thought of her shagging Tony does me head in and precludes her from the number 1 slot.
Number 3, Pamela Anderson.
She won't be headhunted by NASA, but then who wants to shag Buzz Aldrin?
Number 4, Linda Lusardi.
As a page 3 stunner, she brightened up me breakfast. I just wish she'd cooked it for me.
Number 5, Liz Hurley.
Top posh bird. With Liz on my arm, I would be guaranteed top table at any beef eater.
Number 6, that bird off the Renault advert.
Sprightly and elfin-like. Ah, Paul! Ah, Nicole! Je voudrais un snog avec toi dans le derrière de ma cortine.
Number 7, Sharon Stone.
In my fantasy, not only does she cross and uncross her legs, she also bends down to pick up a 50-pence piece that I've glued to the floor.
Number 8, Zainab Badawi.
Intelligent and mysterious. No one knows what it would be like for her to tie me to the bed and whip me. It remains a mystery.
Number 9, Danny Minogue.
Like Kylie, but more for your money. I have a recurring dream where Danny is giving me a foot massage when, ding-dong, Kylie arrives to borrow a cup of sugar. The rest is enjoyable, but predictable.
Number 10, The Barmaid at the Dog's Head.
Available.
The most vain is probably Kilroy Silk. That was at the Adonis Solarium, Coventry. I remember he turned over halfway through to get an even tan. The best, Noel Gallagher, Oasis Tour Bus, Wonderpants. And then, of course, the flip side, I did have Damon from Blur. That was at Regent's Park Zoo. He was like an animal, like a ferret up a gutter.
Pauline, who else have you shagged?
Stan Boardman at the Embassy Club in Manchester. Never put his pint down.
What did you make of the Blue Peter presenter John Leslie, who I believe you had, where was it?
In the BBC canteen.
Oh, yes, of course.
Well, he was like a blind cobbler's thumb. Shane Ritchie, London to Manchester Intercity, first class. He got off at Stoke.
Let's talk about tragic shags.
Andrew Neil, Tramps nightclub, hair like a Brilla pad. Kept chaffing me thighs.
I understand you also had Dr. Hilary Jones.
That's right.
In the BBC canteen.
And my flat, and Scratchwood Services, yes. He said I had to be taken 3 times a week. Paul Nicholas, Dominion Theatre. I was glued to my seat.
Pop stars?
Peter Gabriel, Chipping Norton Recording Studios. Yeah, lovely, nice bloke. Took me for a pub lunch. Much nicer than Robert Palmer. Very short and grumpy. And so was he. And Barry Gibb at his own house, at his party, yes. Burst his waterbed.
And was it a good party?
I couldn't really tell you. I didn't see much of it. I was confined to the one room, as I said.
The school report of Paul Calf, aged 15, Class 4B.
English.
Paul made some progress when I pointed out bag of shite was an expressive colloquial metaphor.
English literature.
Paul has embraced the Greek philosophers this year. He's even suggested a field trip to Corfu.
Geography.
Couldn't find his arse with both hands.
Social science.
Paul's project on Filipino brides is one of the most extensive and thoroughly researched pieces I've ever come across.
History.
Paul thinks that the Dark Ages were during the miners' strike in 1974.
Biology.
Very keen gave a very comprehensive explanation of the reproduction process, although this would have benefited from the less frequent use of the word spunk.
PE.
For a striker, Calf spends too much time in his own penalty area chatting with the goalkeeper, Fat Bob Boyle.
Metalwork.
Shows great aptitude. Paul will have a promising career as a locksmith.
Clubs and societies.
Chairman of the Video Lending Club and Photographic Society. Band.
Chemistry.
Paul Calf is shit at chemistry, and I hate him. Signed, Mr. Cragg.
And my form teacher said...
Paul shows great initiative. When a fire started in a chemistry lab, Paul was first at the scene. He managed to stop the fire spreading from beyond Mr. Cragg's office.
Headmaster's report.
Despite encouraging signs of Paul's apparent progress in certain areas, I feel it is my duty to point out that Paul is regarded by staff and pupils alike as something of a twat. I also believe you had John Redwood at a B&B in Swansea.
Yes. He had a bamboo-backed leather tours in an antique velvet case. A very disturbing man. And he introduced me to his good friend Lenny Kravitz, who took me back to his auntie's bungalow. Yes, flapped his leather coat about like a bat. Quite funny.
And, spiritually speaking?
Robert Powell, the New Forest, was in a rush to get his hire car back. Never blinked once.
And who was the most romantic?
Well, the man that swept me off my feet was Bob Holness, a real gentleman. That was at Highgate Cemetery. Needs to cut his nails. But then we've all told him that.
Who was the raciest sexual encounter?
That would have to be Jeremy Clarkson, Millbrook Test Track, pulled off in a lay-by. Oh, Gary Newman, Barton Aerodrome, still wearing tucker boots. Very sad.
Paul Calf, man of letters, an epistolary tale.
You what?
A tale of letters.
Why don't you bleeding say that then?
Adapted by Fat Bob.
From the DSS, August the 15th, 1996.
Dear Mr. Calf, having checked our records, we can find no trace of the two dependents claimed on your recent application for a supplementary benefit, Mr. Pablo Calf and Mr. Pedro Calf. We will require further details before your claim can be processed. Mr. Richard Boys, Assistant Claims Officer.
Dear Mr. Boys, thank you for your letter of the 15th of August. Although Pablo and Pedro were distressed at what they see as an intrusion into their private lives, I explained to them that Mr. Boys was an honest and decent man, and that once he knew the full details of their tragic situation, he would personally cut through the bureaucracy and send us the money rightfully due to put a little food in their tummies. Here are the indisputable facts. Pablo and Pedro, brackets twins, aged 4, arrived in this country earlier last year. Not wanting to beat about the bush, they are two little Spanish bastards, the result of a romantic liaison with a Catalonian flamingo dancer, Carmen Picasso. I met her on Valentine's Day on a whistle-stop tour of North Manchester working men's clubs. The sound of castanets still brings a tear to my eye. Pablo and Pedro now live with me, following their mother's untimely death at the hands of a cruel matador, a bit like Antonio Banderas with an eye patch and a bad knee. I hope this is sufficient detail for your records. If we backdate the benefit to, let's say, Christmas, I think you'll find it works out at £2,250. I know how hard-pressed your resources are, so let's say £2,000. Yours sincerely, Paul Calf. P.S. Due to a problem with my bank, which is proving less than cooperative at the moment, could you make the cheque payable to Moston Car Mart?
August the 23rd, 1996. Dear Mr. Calf, further to yours of the 17th inst, we note your comments. Regarding your facts, we would ask for some clarification. You claim the twins are 4 years old and that the relationship took place on Valentine's Day, which would thus be the 14th of February 1992. According to our records, at this time you were serving 2 months in Stockton Prison for assaulting a police officer. We would like to know how it was possible to conduct this relationship whilst being detained at Her Majesty's pleasure. Whilst writing, we must point out that smoker's cough does not entitle you to a disability allowance. Our Boys, Assistant Claims Officer.
Dear Mr. Boys, well done for spotting this glaring error. It appears we've both been the victim of an elaborate hoax by the murdering one-eyed matador, who on closer inspection looks a bit more like a fat Engelbert Humperdinck. It sickens me how some people attempt to defraud the laudable benefit system of this fine country. With regards to the disability allowance, it pains me to report that following a bout of excessive coughing, I've suffered a schism of me coccyx. I enclose a letter from my doctor confirming the extent of my ailment. Yours through the mists of pain, Paul Calf.
From Dr. Robert Boyle, General Practitioner, care of Mr. Carburettor, Mossway. Re. Paul Calf. It is my considered and learned opinion that Mr. Calf should not undertake any work, what with his bad back and all. He has schizoid coccyx. Yours authoritatively, Dr. Bob.
From the DSS. Dear Mr. Calf, we would draw your attention to the enclosed photographs taken earlier this week, and in view of the contents of the same, ask you if you wish to reconsider your claim for disability benefit. Also, as you are eligible for work, please supply details of your efforts to attain employment over the recent 6-month period. Our Boys, Claims Officer.
Dear Mr. Boys, it fills me with despair that a hitherto honourable institution such as the DSS employs Big Brother tactics which twist and distort the truth to present an ugly picture which is a complete travesty. The pictures in question may look to those with sick minds like an able-bodied Paul Calf loading boxes of dodgy electrical equipment onto the back of a lorry. But for those who care about the truth, it is clear these pictures show me voluntarily helping out the Meals on Wheels people. This was during a brief but short-lived success in self-hypnotherapy, which temporarily enabled me to overcome the agony of my affliction. Since these pictures, the severity of my pain seems to have regressed to my previous state. There are short but sporadic periods when I am able to walk. As a rule, I find I can achieve some mobility during the hours of 7:30 to 11 p.m. Monday to Saturday, 8 o'clock to 10:30 on Sunday. I look forward to receiving my claim in full. On an entirely unconnected and separate matter, let me say how sorry I am to hear that you recently had all your wheels stolen from your Ford Fiesta 1.1L, including, I think I'm right in saying, the spare, which I'm reliably informed was flat, which is, of course, illegal. As luck would have it, I do know of a similar set which I can guarantee will fit perfectly. Perhaps we can come to some arrangement. Incidentally, during the 6 months mentioned in your letter, I have applied for the following vacancies. Senior Lecturer in Sociology, Liverpool Metropolitan University. Shortlisted. Greater Manchester Police Force. Interviewed. And cautioned over an unrelated matter. Yours truly, Paul Calf.
September the 4th, 1996. Dear Mr. Calf, I am pleased to inform you that having reviewed the situation in the light of recent developments, your claim is to be met in full. There seems to have been some confusion on our part. Yours sincerely, Richard Boys. P.S. Thank you for the new wheels. I was doubly impressed, as it appears on the receipt they were fitted by your doctor.
Mr. Carburettor, Mossway. Receipt 3rd September 1996 to fit Ford Fiesta 1.1L. Wheels including spare 5 at 50 quid. Received the sum of 250 quid with thanks, Bob Boyle.
Have you ever had group sex?
The Proclaimers. Woolwich Ferry car deck. I couldn't see where one started and the other finished. It was very foggy. Eddie Large. That was at the Water Rats Club dinner. And I have to say, he is a breach of the Trade Descriptions Act.
Have you had Sid Little?
No.
Welcome to the Dog's Bollocks Top 20. At number 20, it's What News Party 7. 19, Cindy Crawford's workout video. 18, Laser Quest. Number 17, steak pudding, chips, peas, 2 slices of bread and butter and a cup of tea. Number 16, Uwe Rossler. Number 15, Me Mam. At 14, The Vault at the Dog's Head. 13, Corfu. At number 12, everyone's favourite, King Size Mars Bars. And at number 11, Kung Fu. And the top 10. At 10, it's Razzle. At number 9, up 2 places from last week, Air Rifles. Number 8, a black Porsche Turbo. And at number 7 for the 3rd week running, an afternoon nap. 6, the Corkscrew at Alton Towers. And still in there at 5, Sky TV. 4, those daggers that frogmen wear strapped to the leg. Straight in at number 3, a brand new pair of white trainers. And at 2, things that are cheese and onion flavour has failed to topple the top spot, which means for the 8th week running, at number 1, it's still Steven Seagal.
And finally, Paulina, wouldn't forgive myself if I didn't ask you this. Is there any chance of a quick one off the wrist?
I'd be delighted.
Thank you very much. Good night.
Good night. Come on, sit yourself over here. Make yourself comfortable. Have you got a towel?